Photo art history. The early dawn of the Cheshire Men's Golf Championship unfolded like the first light over the misty fairways of Delamere Forest in 1921. A quiet, hopeful beginning after the long shadows of the Great War. Picture it. Spring turning slowly towards summer, the ancient woodland course stirring once again with the footsteps of men who had traded trenches for tee boxes, their clubs now a different kind of weapon. The Cheshire Union of Golf Clubs had been formed only a year earlier, in November 1920, at Manchester's Midland Hotel. Under the driving force of Daniel Milray of Sale Golf Club, alongside Harold Janyon of Royal Liverpool and Geoffrey Tweedale of Wilmslow, the union set out to unite the county's golfers and introduce a new level of competition. From the salty links of the Wirral to the inland parklands around Manchester and the wooded tests further east, golf in post-war Britain was surging. Leisure offered healing after years of conflict, and county championships mirrored a national effort to organize the amateur game. The Cheshire Men's Championship quickly became the county's flagship contest, a yearly ritual to crown its finest amateur through stroke play qualifying, followed by hard-fought match play through to the final. That first championship was played at Delamere Forest Golf Club in 1921. With a course created only 11 years earlier by Herbert Fowler on rolling heathland once the domain of local huntsmen, Delamere Forest was already established as a masterpiece much admired by the county's golfers. Fairways undulated through rolling heathland bordered by towering pines. Strategic bunkers guarded deceptive greens, and from this quiet beginning emerged the first champion, Geoffrey Tweedale. A chartered accountant from the Wilmslow Golf Club and the Cheshire Union's first treasurer, Tweedale brought calm precision to the event. Reports of the time praised his unflappable putting on Delamere's smooth and slick greens. In a much-anticipated final, he met Stockport's renowned Israel Sidebottom. After a desperately close encounter, Tweedale prevailed by the narrowest margin of one hole. The silver trophy was presented by Cheshire President Harold Janyon before modest applause from club members and traveling supporters, while tea tents dotted the edge of the course. Sidebottom's consolation was that he and his Stockport colleagues won the team championship. It was no grand spectacle yet, but it marked a milestone. Cheshire had its own championship. The following year, 1922, the championship was held at Prenton Golf Club, a parkland layout on the Wirral Peninsula. Here, the wind sweeping in from the estuary tightened the test. Fairways narrowed, rough thickened. Accuracy mattered far more than power. Geoffrey Tweedale returned, hungrier, steadier, and more confident following his success in the Ashton Trophy at St Anne's, then considered to be the championship of the North. Tweedale's style was described in The Sketch. Mr. Tweedale has a quiet, unobtrusive style, which is the token of steadiness. The steadiness which brings in a year more victories than defeats in matches with players of spasmodic brilliance. In the final against Bromboro's Ernest Hassel, Tweedale drove almost 300 yards into a flooded bunker on the 12th hole. A remarkable recovery saw him find the green from over 80 yards. He defended his title convincingly, winning the final 2-up. By 1923, the championship rolled inland once more, this time to Stockport Golf Club, south of industrial Manchester. Tree-lined holes rewarded strategy and nerve. Here, the story shifted. A local favourite, the 1921 runner-up, stepped forward from the artisan ranks. Israel Sidebottom. A working man, Sidebottom's game thrived under pressure. His chipping scraped balls from tight lies. His putting held firm when matches hung in the balance. A local reporter described Sidebottom's remarkable style. Mr. Sidebottom's style is florid and exuberant. His waggle of the clubhead is magnificently ornamental. Once, when he was preparing for a shot, I counted these flourishes. There were 4 long and dignified waggles, followed by 9 delivered like flashes of lightning. At any rate, when he does hit the ball, he hits it remarkably well. Sidebottom beat Hale Golf Club's Martin Shunk in the final to secure his only county championship success. Newspapers praised the victory as proof of golf's egalitarian spirit in the 1920s. A decade marked by social change and economic uncertainty, Sidebottom's triumph echoed the post-war ethos. Merit could rise above class. Stockport's industrial backdrop, near cotton mills and factory chimneys, mirrored the working fabric of Cheshire itself. And in that setting, the championship's identity deepened. It was no longer simply a competition. It was becoming a story of community, opportunity, and pride. In 1924, the championship traveled to the towering coastal dunes of Wallasey Golf Club, overlooking the Irish Sea. Here, wind shaped every shot. Low ball flights and careful judgment became essential. Dominating the field from start to finish was M.S. Walker. A Liverpool merchant's son with polished technique, Walker adapted seamlessly to the elements. His drives pierced the gusts, and in an all-Royal Liverpool final, he secured the championship with a win over clubmate David Brown. Wallasey's dramatic sea views lifted the championship's prestige. They reminded players and spectators alike that Cheshire Golf stood within the broader traditions of the game, not far from Royal Liverpool's famous Open and Amateur Championship history. In 1925, the championship moved inland again to Wilmslow Golf Club, home of double winner Geoffrey Tweedale. Here, manicured fairways demanded finesse and touch. But it was another Wilmslow player who came to the fore in the 5th championship. Donald Eadie, a local businessman, prevailed after a tense and dramatic contest against Ernest Hassel, who once again had to accept the runner-up prize. Reports praised Eadie's elegant swing and composure under pressure. Crowds were growing. Tea tents bustled with conversation. The championship was becoming a social highlight of the golfing summer. Then came 1926, and with it, the arrival of the championship at one of England's most famous courses, Royal Liverpool Golf Club at Hoylake. On this historic ground, an oil worker from Birkenhead emerged as champion. Bill Sutton. A proud member of the West Cheshire Artisans, Sutton's powerful approach play conquered the links. He captured the title by defeating the luckless Israel Sidebottom, who became runner-up for a 3rd time. The Liverpool Echo celebrated the victory as the triumph of the artisan spirit. Working-class excellence on a course where legends of the game had walked. The following year, at Prestbury Golf Club near Macclesfield. A newer course, designed by the renowned Harry Shapland Colt, this undulating layout demanded careful strategy and nerve. Sutton was once again up to the task. He defended his title with determination, defeating Israel Sidebottom again. But another Sutton was rising. His brother, Norman Sutton. In 1928, at Sandyway near Northwich, Norman seized his moment. Sandyway was another new course, designed by Ted Ray and situated on rolling heathland near Delamere. Dominant stroke play carried Norman Sutton, who used only a handful of clubs to win the title. The brothers had achieved something remarkable. Bill Sutton, 1926, Bill Sutton again, 1927, Norman Sutton, 1928. A family hat-trick in Cheshire Championship history. The decade closed in 1929 at Timperley Golf Club, and the winner carried one of the most famous names in golf. James Braid Jr. Son of five-time Open champion James Braid and a member of Ringway Golf Club. His smooth strokes echoed the genius of his father, and he won the final 2-1. These 9 years formed the foundation of Cheshire Championship golf. Tweedale's consistency, Sidebottom's single triumph amongst 3 losing finals, Walker's mastery of the wind, Edie's drama, the Sutton dynasty, and Braid Jr.'s link to golfing heritage. Interwar summers were uncertain years, yet the championship endured. Crowds gathered quietly beside the fairways, courses rotated like the seasons, and the beauty of Cheshire revealed itself. From Delamere's rolling heathland and pine forests, to Hoylake's sweeping dunes, to Wallasey's sea views and Prestbury's strategic parkland. This is the living story of how a county found its golfing soul. One swing at a time, one champion at a time. This is photo art history. Epilogue. 1920 to 1929. The first decade of the Cheshire Union in a changing world. Photo art history. 10 years. A single decade can feel like a chapter. The 1920s felt like a transformation. When the Cheshire Union was formed in 1920, Britain was still adjusting to the silence that followed the Great War. Industry recalibrated, communities rebuilt, old certainties fractured, and a new social rhythm began to emerge. Golf, too, was finding its post-war footing. Across Cheshire, from Royal Liverpool's windswept links at Hoylake to inland courses at Stockport, Wallasey, Wilmslow, and beyond, clubs reasserted themselves. Competition returned not as distraction, but as renewal. The Union belonged to that moment, organization after upheaval, structure after uncertainty. The early 1920s, recovery and resolve. Nationally, Britain wrestled with industrial unrest, high unemployment, and the economic aftershocks of war debt. Heavy industry, coal, steel, textiles, faced global competition and falling prices. Yet on fairways across Cheshire, a different kind of discipline took shape. The Union's earliest championships were conducted with seriousness. Constitutions were drafted, trophies commissioned, selection debated with care. To represent Cheshire became a badge of quiet pride. Internationally, the League of Nations sought to prevent another catastrophe. Across the Atlantic, the United States surged with optimism. Jazz, cinema, skyscrapers, motor cars. The modern age seemed to move faster each year. And still, in Cheshire, 36 holes were contested in wind and scrutiny, as if continuity itself were reassurance. Mid-decade. Confidence and competition. By 1924 and 1925, the Union had moved from formation to authority. Championships matured, personalities emerged, matches extended to the 19th hole. Newspapers described contests as desperate affairs. This was the era of sporting heroes. Football crowds swelled. The Open Championship carried international prestige. Amateur golf commanded column inches and caricature. British exports were already under strain. Now global demand contracted sharply. Banks tightened credit. Commodity prices fell. Industrial regions, especially in the north of England, felt the pressure first. Across the empire, from Canadian wheat to Australian wool to Indian textiles, markets weakened. The economic optimism that had buoyed much of the decade dissolved almost overnight. For Britain, still servicing war debts and adjusting to a changing world, the crash signaled more than financial loss. It marked the beginning of a long contraction that would shape the 1930s. Unemployment, austerity, political realignment. And yet, as the decade closed, the Cheshire Union stood intact. 10 years after its formation, it possessed a recognized championship, established inter-county standing, personalities forged under scrutiny, and governance tested by weather, rivalry, and uncertainty. A county within a world. Between 1920 and 1929, the world moved from post-war recovery to modern exuberance, and then to economic shock. Within that same span, the Cheshire Union moved from foundation to maturity. While aviators crossed oceans and markets soared and fell, while strikes halted industry and snow halted play, while empires adjusted to new economic realities, Cheshire Golf continued. Measured in composure, measured in rivalry, measured in resilience. The Union's first decade was not insulated from history. It was woven through it, shaped by the same currents that moved Britain and the Empire. And as the 1930s approached, with the Great Depression casting its long shadow across nations and colonies alike, one truth remained steady. The Cheshire Union was no longer new. It was part of the fabric of its county, disciplined, enduring, and prepared to navigate whatever the next decade would demand.